Hola amigos, ¿cómo están? Yo soy Leo Méndez y el día de hoy tengo un nuevo video. Como saben, hace un par de semanas fue Mexsynthco, la primera convención, conferencia y convivio de sintetizadores en la Ciudad de México, y tuvimos una semana fenomenal, 3 días fantásticos con gente de diferentes marcas de alrededor del mundo y también con creadores nacionales. Y voy a empezar a subir una serie de las conferencias. La primera que tenemos el día de hoy es con MarkVerbos. Como verán, el video son fotos que tomó nuestra querida Carolina Lagach, que fue la fotógrafa principal. ¿Por qué son fotos? Tenemos el video, pero como el tema de la traducción hizo la plática un poco más lenta de lo deseado, decidí, como en vez de editar esa parte, poner un poco de fotos y que escuchen el audio de manera continua de lo que nos platicó MarkVerbos. Además está en este mismo video una improvisación que hizo, fantástica improvisación, esa sí la tengo en video, entonces espérense hasta el final del video para que puedan ver las dos cosas al mismo tiempo. Muchas gracias a todos los que fueron a Mexsynthco, de verdad se los agradezco muchísimo, fue un esfuerzo fantástico de mucha gente y que la verdad es que estamos muy contentos y deseosos de volverlo a hacer. Yo soy Leo Méndez y los dejo con el video. Bye bye.
Hola amigos, pues ya regresamos a la segunda parte de la conferencia y tengo aquí a mi lado izquierdo a MarkVerbos. MarkVerbos es un entusiasta de la síntesis desde temprana edad. Es conocido por haber trabajado como en estudios musicales, como asistente de producción, como productor. También tiene una larga carrera como DJ, ha vivido en distintas ciudades del mundo, Chicago, Milwaukee, es tu ciudad natal, ha vivido en Berlín, tiene una carrera como bastante profunda en el tema de la música. También es conocido por haber trabajado bastante con reparación y reacondicionamiento de varios sistemas bucla. Es también un coleccionista de sistemas modulares bucla, y desde el 2014 inició con su propia marca, que es Verbos Electronics. Al principio estaban basados en Nueva York y después, desde hace el año pasado, se movieron a la ciudad de Berlín, donde tienen esta nueva fábrica, y están basados desde allá, impulsando mucho el mercado europeo. Además, es fan de los tacos. Y básicamente vino, porque tengo que decir esto, básicamente vino a comer tacos. Así que no hay nada mejor que tacos y modulares. Con ustedes, MarkVerbos, al cual le pido un fuerte aplauso.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be in Mexico City for my first time. I think he pretty much covered the real early background details. So the things that I want to talk about really are about primarily about the use of modular synthesizers and why we want to use them and how we use them to make real music. I think there's sometimes a misconception that these are machines that are not used for serious music. So I started making electronic music when I was 12 or 13 years old, and at that time I was using whatever I could get my hands on, but along the way I started buying older synthesizers and began to be interested in fixing them. So once I'd spent quite a lot of effort looking for old synthesizers and fixing them, I was very lucky to meet someone who was 20 years older than me and had dedicated already at that time 20 years of his life to working on synthesizers, and had even started building his own. So when I saw somebody building his own synthesizer, then I thought that it was possible, because I think for every person who gets interested in this sort of thing, it seems completely impossible because it's so complicated. In 1994, I started to release music of my own, and that happened around the same time that I was starting to build synthesizers. And I was very lucky. This person that I met back then, his name is Grant Richter. But it was just lucky that he lived in Milwaukee, where I lived. So because he started a synthesizer company in the later 90s. I helped him with the beginning stages of that. And I think that that was the foundation that led for me more than 10 years later to start my own synthesizer company. In my opinion, the most important part of what we do with this synthesizer and what makes it special is the fact that I myself am a musician, and I myself am a synthesizer nerd or a synthesizer lover. So I want to make an instrument to make music, not a tool to intimidate people. So the most important part of that philosophy is that the design of the instrument has to start from the human interface, or the way that a musician will use it, and then become a piece of electronics. So when in 2013 I started working on designing this, what would become the product from our company, I thought that that was the admitting failure as a musician for myself, that finally I was just going to be a designer. But all the people around me told me that that was completely wrong, that people would want to see me performing using my instrument. Of course they were right and I was wrong. But in a way, it's only valid, my philosophy only is true if I use the instrument. So now my performances as a musician are done using only the products that we make and the TR-909. So the philosophy then becomes, when I have an idea for what a new module might be, the philosophy has to be, how would I want to use this? How would it make sense for me when I'm making the music? So then it starts as an image of what it will look like, and from there then the electronics have to be figured out. And why would anyone want to use an instrument that has no patch memory, and even though they're much smaller than they used to be, still weighs a lot and is hard to travel with, and it's temperamental and sometimes has problems? And the answer to that question is because we make a relationship with these things, and there's a dance that making music with a modular becomes. This is something that I reach out and touch, and that there's a feeling that comes from interacting with it. Every person who uses a modular has the option to put together the system that person wants. So it's personal. Every instrument is different. When we decide that we'll put the instrument together, we already are starting to make decisions about what the music that we'll make with it. In this particular box, all that we have decided is to have one of each of the products that we make. But if you wanted to have one, you could have the same module 5 times if you like. In a way, we put together the band that's going to be performing the music when we choose all of the parts that will be in the instrument. A really big part of the philosophy of mine in this instrument is that I prefer to make modules that are big and have a lot of functionality that's unique to them. But what that means is that when in a live situation where the music might be improvised, I know how to get where I want. I know that it's going to do the thing that I want it to do. I think that the other way, the small modules doing simple functions way, is is some people like it much more, but for me, it doesn't allow me to get to what I want intentionally, because sometimes we forget that we also have to learn how to use electronic instruments. A relationship that we have with the instrument, where we work with it for a long time and we get comfortable, so we know how to make it sing. You can see how when I have the next idea, that I can go to it without using headphones to plan ahead, or without experimenting before I get what I want. Just like playing any instrument, if you spend enough time working with an electronic instrument, then it becomes natural to have the idea and then know how to make it. It becomes muscle memory. But if I can, it's also very, very nice to be able to balance a technical understanding and an artistic understanding together always.
How do you remember the millions of possibilities between the cables and all the other equipment that is up there? There's got to be millions of, like...
Do you want to translate that? You don't remember how to walk upstairs. You learned it a long time ago, or how to ride a bicycle. You learn how to do it, and you do it so much that you no longer are thinking about how. You just have a feeling, and then you go to that feeling.
You said that you first developed the concept rather than the electronics. So has there been a time where you first stumbled on the electronics through experimentation and then the concept?
For me, I've always thought of musical devices that were based on an electronic quirk as being poison. I think that if there was something that I discovered in electronics that wasn't a musical thing, the only way I would ever use that would be if it suggested a musical application to me, but a kind of symbiosis, or it happening all together.
Hi, I have a question. Could you more or less tell us which kind of modules you have in each piece of this rack? Because I think you have oscillators, LFOs, and as you tell us, you can construct very different artifact depending on the person.
Right. Perhaps more interesting would be to explain what I used more than what I have, because I didn't use all the modules anyway. So it's different every time, which is part of the excitement for me. The main voice was coming from the harmonic oscillator, which is additive synthesis. It has the main oscillator multiplied by 2, by 3, by 4, all the way up to 8. But the important thing is that it makes the sound change by mixing together the harmonics rather than filtering. The mix of these different harmonics can be done dynamically or controlled from something else. And that sound is being processed by the multi-delay processor. And this is a digital delay with 8 taps or 8 delays in a row, where the delay time is controlled from analog CV, so it can be changed from an external control. Then the second voice came from the complex oscillator. it's actually two working together, one for modulation and one for what we're hearing. And the sound of that one is filtered by the Bark filter processor. The Bark filter allows the mix of those 12 fixed filters the same way that the harmonics are mixed in the harmonic oscillator. What's really nice about that in a live performance is that I can have a control voltage changing the mix, but also manually reach out and grab the sliders and do things. So it can have multiple things happening with the same signal path. I think it's best when doing improvisation to have the ability to use one voice but have multiple things controlling it, so that without repatching, I can go from one place to the next. Because when I first was doing performances with synthesizers, I thought that I was competing with DJs. So with that in mind, I thought that I needed to, with headphones, listen to the next thing that I would bring in and prepare it so I could mix it in like a DJ. But that's bullshit. Now I think that the only reason that anyone would ever care to see a performance is because it's real and it's happening right here and it's special to this moment. So if something goes wrong, I fix it. And I don't spend any time thinking about how stupid I must look because someone saw that I made a mistake or that something didn't go exactly the way I wanted, because it's real.
Mark, do you think the analog voltage is a language?
Yeah, well, you start out by learning the basic module, the VCO or the VCF, the VCA, this basic stuff, and then you take a turn and get into the more esoteric ones. But at some point you stop, like a language, you stop translating from what you knew before to what you've learned, and you just start using that language. You make words from these things naturally and no longer have to try to remember what does this control do. Maybe this answers that question. You don't remember what this control does or what that control does. You just do it.
Chicos, un fuerte aplauso para MarkVerbos. Thank you so much for